Hey guys, and welcome back. My selfie stick broke already. Pretty kind of bummed out about it. Today's video, we're going to talk about some of the common things that happen on your wiring and some tips and tricks on how to make the wiring a little more reliable. So a few things I want to show you in the video are common problems. One is grounds, 2 is bad connections, 3 is corrosion. Those are the most common things that you're going to have on your Volkswagen. Here's some of the basic tools you need to work on your VW wiring. You need a test light, absolutely 100% necessary. Voltmeter can show you voltage, but the test light will actually test the amperage as well. If that light lights up, you got enough voltage, or you got enough amperage. Other things you need, I don't know if they sell this one anymore at Home Depot, but they used to sell this at Home Depot. They sell another one that looks like that, but it does the same thing. And this is if you read here, what does that say? Improves electrical properties. This stuff is amazing. This spray, if you have a bad connection, especially if you have a 6-volt car, you can spray this on a connection and it can just fix it immediately. And then this also too, this stuff here, you need a dry electrical contact cleaner to fix things on your VW. Number 1, when I'm restoring the car, I will take out all the switches. I will spray the electrical contact cleaner, soak it with all of that, move the switch in and out a bunch of times, twist it back and forth. You'll find you might think your switch is bad, but you'll put that stuff in it, clean it all out really good, and then spray some of that electrical contact, the one that helps improve the electrical connection inside there. Move it all around, blow it out with air. Most of the time, your old switch will work. You'll be surprised. Same thing with the wiper switch. Same thing with the ignition switch. I had an ignition switch. I put it in the car. I went to go use it, and you could drive it a little bit, and you just bump the switch, and it would shut off the engine. I did that with it, cleaned it, did everything just like I said, sprayed the thing that improves, the little lubricant that improves the electronic cleaner in there, sprayed it in there, blew it all up with air to get all the excess out. Worked ever since. No more issues. Turn signal too. Take it apart. When you're restoring the car, clean it with those cleaners. Spray the electrical contact lubricant on it. It'll fix 90% of your problems. Same thing with these door switches. A lot of times the contacts in there get bad, and man, you'll be surprised what just that spray will do. Sometimes you'll fix an old switch by doing that. So another thing you're going to find is all these slip-on connectors. If you have a later model car, 61 and later had all these slip-on connections. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take them all off and I'll dip them in Tarnade. Well, Tarn X, and then I'll just put this in a little container, pour it back in here. I'll use this over and over, and I'll put it in there, and I will definitely rinse this stuff off. Don't leave it on there. It's an acid. So I'll dip it in there for a couple seconds, swirl them all around, put them in some water afterwards, swirl them all around, and then connect them back up. Because you'll find that stuff actually will get into places and clean it where you can't even get a brush or anything like that, or sandpaper. So that stuff works really good to help clean the connections. I've used that many times, eliminated a lot of problems. And after I'm done doing that with that product, I will use the spray lubricant. And some guys can say, you know, after you get a good connection, you could even use dielectric grease. But remember, dielectric grease is not to improve the electrical connection. Dielectric means kill the electric, die. It's dying, okay? You're killing the electric. But it does do some great things. If you use dielectric grease, if after it's a good connection, you can put that on there to protect the surface from actually contaminants from entering the connection again. So that stuff can work, but it does not improve the connection. The lubricant does. So keep that in mind, guys. On Amazon, maybe I'll put a link in the description, they have these star washer sets. These are called star washers, and a lot of cars are missing these, and these need to be there. They help improve the electrical contact on a lot of things. Let's talk about it. So on your turn signals, they should be on the nuts underneath. When you have your nut on there, you should have a star washer there. On your tail lights, there should be a star washer on the back. A little, whatever it is, 6mm star washer on the back, at least on one of the connections, and it should be clean. You can do the same thing, use the brake cleaner, a little bit of sandpaper, clean up the connection area, and then spray it with that stuff. And if you want to coat it with dielectric grease after you got a good connection, you can do that. Remember, dielectric grease after you got a good connection. So many guys think that if they just slather grease on it, it's going to make it connect better. That is not what dielectric grease does. Okay, dielectric grease will protect it from outside elements. It will protect it from circuit leak. Okay, it's designed to keep electrical from leaking out of something, not designed really for making the connection better. So, but a lot of people, like, it was originally, we got it for spark plugs. You put it on the boot of the spark plug, and it would keep the spark from going out the side of the spark plug boot. The guys use it for all kinds of stuff now. I mean, yeah, you can use it on your connectors when you put them together, like on a later model car, and that's to protect the elements from getting in there and causing more corrosion. It's not to make it get better connection. Look it up, dielectric grease definition. It'll tell you right away. It's to stop the flow of electricity. So anyway, just keep that in mind when you're using it. It does work great, but you got to use it properly. One of the first places to look when you have an electrical problem is to just take your fuses and wiggle them back and forth. A lot of times that's usually what the problem is. Again, putting some of that that lubricant on those fuses, you could just spray it across them. I just sprayed it on them real quick. You know, yeah, it's oil and whatever, and then just move them around once, and I've had it work. I mean, I've had it just start connecting again and work perfectly. So I hopped in this Beetle the other day. It was a little while back, a couple weeks ago, and I had one headlight. So I go ahead, raise up the hood, and on these Beetles, it is underneath here. And what was wrong is, if you look right here, see if it can focus on that, there is a rivet right there. Between that and the rivet, there was a bad connection. So between those two surfaces, and on a 6-volt car, you'll find they're very finicky. All I did was I took that electrical spray and sprayed it right there and wiggled this around just a little bit. Headlights started working again. Go figure. You guys, that's all it takes. That stuff is amazing. That little spray of the electrical that improves the electrical properties is really good. These are the most common things that just go out on your VW that make your electrical just stop working, your turn signals stop working. And there's a really simple fix. Take off the connections. You can sand them if you want. That's okay too. Sometimes you have to. And the same thing on your light bulbs. You can pull out the light bulb. There's another real quick thing I'm going to say that happens all the time. On your light bulb, see that little nub on the side there? When you put it in, you turn it and that thing comes back. Right there between that nub and the little V thing on your light bulb where it holds in place, almost always a bad connection. So those, sometimes you have to sand them. Okay, not the bulb usually, but you can take that that stuff, the electrical contact, improves electrical properties, that little spray. Sometimes you can just spray it on there, put this in there, and it'll work great again. You won't have any issues, and it'll last for years. So, and like I said, once you do that, sometimes you can just go, okay, well, it's got a good connection now. I can put some sort of dielectric grease on it to protect it from the elements coming into the connection again. Personally, sometimes I'll just use regular grease. I won't even use dielectric because regular grease does not resist electrical contact. But you have to be careful using that. Some places, if you use regular grease, some of the contact holders where you put the regular grease will actually go decrepit over time. It doesn't happen very often. I've done it so much that I haven't really had that problem, but guys are saying, you know, well, the thing can swell up. I don't know. I just haven't had that happen personally. Well, most of the time when I use grease to help improve a connection, I'll just use regular grease. And it's because it's not dielectric. It does not try to kill the power going through it. It can help improve the properties. It still can also protect it from the elements. So it's all up to you on that. If you want to, you're going to get arguments of this whole thing, but do what you feel comfortable with. But just know what those products do, because they don't necessarily do what people think. You know, dielectric grease, a lot of guys will use it thinking that it helps to make the properties of the electrical better, and it doesn't. It's not. Read the definition on Webster's dictionary or whatever of dielectric. It'll tell you a pretty clear story that it does not. It's to stop the flow of electricity. So but it also is, because it's silicone grease. There's good and bad about silicone, you guys. Sometimes silicone, I mean, for instance, silicone, okay? If you have silicone on your dashboard, what happens to your dashboard? Plastic dashboard cracks, just like they did with, people stopped using Armor All because it was ruining everything. Put it on your tires, it just cracks. So, you know, I'm not really big on silicones myself. I would prefer using petroleum, and you know, but that's, like I said, that's up to you. I don't use silicone spray much because it embeds in the paint. If I use silicone spray on something and it gets on the paint and I go to repaint that panel, I might have a ton of problems from doing that. So I don't like to use silicones personally. So anyway, the only time I'll use silicone is I use like Mega Black for valve covers and stuff like that. This stuff works amazing. So anyway, that's probably a few things that you guys can that'll help you with your electrical to make it more reliable. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.